You're emphasizing the point I'm making is that the decentralization component is not efficient enough, but you add a layer.
Oh no, I'm actually contradicting you.
I just think decentralization is not the most efficient method, and I have not personally used anything or experienced anything that has effectively been 100% decentralized and 100% efficient. Granted, like, I do think if you are using these decentralized things, you have to have a passion for the fact that, like, of the whole ethos of it, because the UI and the UX does suck right now. But with that being said, like, I do think that it's still a very realistic concept that can work. I mean, it obviously works for Bitcoin, right? Like, Bitcoin is completely decentralized. I think that is a perfect example.
So yeah, so let's tie it all together today.
All right.
So here's how easy of a user experience was it for people who had an account with Fidelity to say, I want to reallocate 1% of my retirement fund into Bitcoin.
Right. You're emphasizing the point I'm making is that the decentralization component is not efficient enough, but you add a layer.
Oh no, I'm actually contradicting you.
Wow.
So the decentralization works perfectly, right?
It works perfectly
because there's a hypothecation of assets, and there's a user interface built on top of it that makes it easy, right? So when you use
wait, let's take that back. There's not a 2009, there was not an easy user interface. You had to download a software.
Of course not.
You wouldn't know.
In any case, you had to download a software, and only God knows what you had to do within that software to get your CPU first, and then the GPU, and now Bitcoin machines that are specifically for mining. So I don't think that's an easy experience at all, and I don't think that's efficient.
But we're not in 2009 anymore.
I know, but that's still my point, though, is that until the centralized component was introduced, the decentralized component was still very difficult to understand and to access.
So what have I said when we've brought this discussion up, like at least a dozen times on this and the other shows that we're on together, is that there's the user base that needs to be close to the wire and understand decentralization,
Yep.
and then there's the user base that doesn't need to know that.
I don't disagree, but then
there's the engineer that needs to know how the power plant works and how to wire a house and how to connect the wires to the transformer down on the end of the block. And then there's the user that just needs to know how to flip on a light switch.
So you just proved my point. Without that engineer, me as a user, I'll never be able to flip my light switch.
So
I agree. That's the whole point.
That's the whole point.
We agree with you, Mark, but Hopkins, but when is that gonna happen?
When is it's happened?
Okay, hold on.
Did you not see the ETFs that launched today?
Hold on.
Yes.
I think we're talking about two different things. Okay, the actual, like, blockchain of Bitcoin is decentralized and it is super efficient. However, the average person is not, like, gonna be able to access that.
Well, I think
can.
with
They do today with the ETFs.
They can. And some do. The ones who do are the ones who really know their shit, though.
Oh, with Bitcoin, it's a whole other issue. Like, people can go to Cash App and fucking use it if they want to, if they know about it. That's the whole thing, though, is with Bitcoin, there's an optics issue. We've talked about this. We were talking about decentralized AI and the UI involed there.
So I'm leading you both down a stepping stone. No, I'm trying to make a point, right?
Yeah.
People who are reallocating part of their retirement fund into a Bitcoin ETF don't need to know anything about how a blockchain works, and they're directly using Bitcoin because it requires a hypothecated settlement. It's a derivative instrument.
I mean, you're right.
Okay, so it's the same thing with decentralized AI. Right now, this is where we were talking about earlier today on
Wait, but before we even go to decentralized AI, like, what you're saying is so contradicting, because in order for the person to get to the decentralized component, which is Bitcoin, they have to go through the centralized entity.
Okay, so you don't have to go build a coal power plant to turn on your light switch. You just have to flip a light switch. This is what I'm talking about. And there is a direct hypothecation of assets. So every dollar that you spend on a ETF that is centralized, a decentralized real asset must exist in the back end.
But I don't actually hold that asset.
No, you don't hold that.
I hold a note that
and
says,
you didn't build the power plant just to turn on your light switch.
I mean, well, the light switch again is centralized. This is exactly my point.
What are you talking about? The light switch is centralized.
Yes, because there's an electrical grid, and in Texas, there's an independent one called ERCOT, and it's managed by a central entity. Is that not true?
No, it's not true at all. It's not true at all.
You're telling me ERCOT does not run the electrical grid of Texas?
ERCOT is just a coordination layer. It's like the nodes for the Bitcoin network. They're not a company.
They're not.
They're
They're
not the company that owns.
basically.
They're not the company that owns the generation.
Who owns the generation? Encore.
No, Encore is delivery.
Right.
So Encore is
Generations like the power
So different power companies own it, right?
Yeah.
I love this conversation right now.
So with decentralized AI,
Yeah.
what Morpheus is trying to do is build a Bitcoin-like network for compute resources so that individuals and entities and coalitions of organizations can build out their own essentially hardware solutions that power a larger AI network rather than it being all owned by a company like OpenAI or Google or Meta or some other thing.
Yeah.
The end user interface right now is very much like the Bitcoin QT wallet that existed in 2009, where it's all in one single interface.
Yeah.
But the goal of building this protocol is that's only a reference protocol, and that you may go to Morpheus GPT or Mark GPT or any other number of websites that just utilize that decentralized network for compute. And you don't need to know how decentralization even works. Hey, thanks for watching The Merge. We've got a ton more stuff for you to watch on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. Check us out.